side of him. I think he's still that same Steve. He's still that. But now you're also seeing another side of him that he never had to show.
You're telling people you work with, I don't want you even to be next to me. Like, I have such disdain for you that I'm annoyed by your presence.
His TV talk show.
Okay, this was the one he had on NBC just recently.
Whatever, yeah. The one that damn, who took his show from him?
Kelly Clarkson.
How can Kelly Clarkson take your show?
I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges, and there's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt
Steve Harvey didn't just climb to the top. He stepped on a few toes getting there. At least that's what a growing number of comedians are saying, because now the laughter stopped and the truth's coming out. According to some of Steve's own peers, his rise to fame wasn't all clean.
By the way, this is the same guy who rails against people who don't believe in his particular voodoo. Right,
against gay people.
Against gay people, against AIDS.
Behind the smiles, the suits, and the motivational speeches, there were broken friendships, stolen jokes, and backroom deals that left a trail of bitterness through the comedy world. For years, nobody said a word, but now they're speaking out. And the story they're telling, it's not the one Steve's been selling.
You know, my thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, man, you're using my...
Let's get straight into it. Steve Harvey, one of the biggest names in comedy and television. The man went from stand-up stages to hosting Family Feud, Miss Universe, The Steve Harvey Show, and even giving out life advice like a preacher on Sunday. He's everywhere. Talk shows, radio, books, podcasts to millions. Steve is the ultimate success story. Proof that hard work and faith can turn a broke man into a billionaire brand. But behind the applause and the empire, some of the people who knew him before all the fame say the Steve Harvey you see on TV isn't the same man they knew on the grind.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless.
Let's rewind to the 1980s and 90s, the golden era of stand-up. Back then, Steve Harvey was just another hustler trying to make it on stage. He was funny, sharp, and hungry. But so were hundreds of other black comedians grinding the same circuit. From clubs in Chicago to open mics in Atlanta, names like Mark Curry, D.L. Hurley, Cat Williams, Monique, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac. All out there paying dues, building reputations one joke at a time. They all respected the hustle.
Bernie said in the GQ article that when he got Ocean's 11, Steve had reached out to the producer and said he thought he would be a better fit and tried to get the part and blah, blah, blah. And that was that, you know.
But they also respected the code and the one rule you never break in comedy. You don't steal another comedian's material ever. That's where the smoke around Steve Harvey starts. See, it's not just one person accusing him. It's a pattern that's followed him for years.
Comedians don't appreciate their jokes being stolen, and Steve Harvey has rubbed several comedians the wrong way. Well, it looks like Harvey has found himself in some trouble.
No Halloween costume. I think we UPS, I guess, I don't know.
You've heard me say that every Halloween I had the same outfit on. I just had a brown box, and he just told me to tell everybody I was a UPS man.
My material on his show, so I had a beef on that.
On what show?
When he was on the bullshit talk show he had, and he did all my Halloween material one Halloween.
He says he knows that Steve Harvey stole his Halloween bit because it was a personal story. He was talking about himself growing up.
This cat is hot. Please put your hands together for Cat Williams.
Saying you are not supposed to be at the gas station making life decisions.
Can't even pump gas like you used to no more.
If you put $15 in your tank, you had time to bond with your vehicle. You had time to put the nozzle in and
put the nozzle in there and hit it.
set the clicker and look through your car and clean off the dashboard and
Be sitting there talking, be on your phone, hey, what's happening? Be walking around, cleaning the windshield.
run in the store and get some Pringles and a Snapper, and it'll still be pumping.
Okay, you go in there, bring me a wine cooler. Bring me a cooler, dog. Not no more.
You can't even turn around good for that son of a bitch click. As soon as you put it in, just click, click.
Get in there and start it up, and you can't believe that damn needle is a quarter tank of gas.
The same Steve that went to then you ask it.
And one of the loudest voices in that conversation is Mark Curry, the star of the 90s sitcom Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Mark's been in this game just as long as Steve. And in a resurfaced interview, he didn't hold back. He said straight up, "Steve Harvey stole my whole routine. He took jokes I wrote, put them on TV, and acted like he made them up.
We going through something, we'll call each other because we feel for each other because we know the real person.
Right. Yeah.
I know they lying about you online. I know that podcast is bullshit. Hang in there, dog. Don't pay no attention to that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and look, man, just because you can talk smooth without saying, it don't mean you ain't lying.
Right.
I be sitting up here looking at these podcasts of these other comedians that's going on talking about other comedians. Hold up, dog. Where did that shit come from? When did we become that? When did we get into tear each other down business? Because you ain't never heard me say not a disparaging remark against another comedian nowhere. You ain't heard him, or him. Because we ain't cut from that cloth.
Right.
So what is your motive for doing this here? And you're not going to tear him down. And look, man, I got a real platform.
That wasn't some random accusation. Mark said he saw it happen with his own eyes. He claimed that when the Steve Harvey show came out, he recognized scenes, setups, and punchlines that were word for word his. Now, this isn't the first time someone said that about Steve. Over the years, there have been whispers from smaller comedians, ones who worked under him or opened for him, saying he'd take their ideas, polish them up, and use them for himself.
Harvey is on his third marriage. His third wife was mistress to his second wife.
He got it. Everybody thinks Steve Harvey's some stand-up man. No, I'm a kiss the old girl who owned TV One. He used to kiss her. He had the radio show out here.
It was hot. We had the Steve Harvey show, so we had a national TV show. Bernie Mac was the it comedian at the time, and then DL was hot. He had a TV. But the first year we did it, it was just me, Bernie, and Steve.
Right.
And Steve closed.
You did the first part, the second part.
I think, of course, that was, definitely a contributing circumstance, but also
like me, like Oprah, Tyler, Lee Daniels, and I gotta put my brother Steve on the list. Y'all knew I was not wrong.
Love every time, had him on my show every time. But if you're gonna do another stick, just tell the brother that you're sticking with. Dog, I'm gonna be dog.
But Mark Curry is the one who finally said it loud enough for people to pay attention. He said, "It's one thing to be inspired by somebody, but when you steal a man's act, that's robbery." And here's what made it even worse. When Mark tried to call him out back then, nobody wanted to hear it. Because by that time, Steve wasn't just a comic anymore. He was a brand. The big suits, the big smile, the talk show king. And nobody wanted to mess with that. But Mark wasn't the only one. A few years later, Cat Williams came for Steve too. And he came hard. In an infamous interview, Cat said, "Steve Harvey ain't the king of comedy. He's the king of stealing jokes. He built his career on Bernie Mac's back. And that line hit deep because Kat wasn't just talking about jokes. He was talking about loyalty. See, Steve, Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hawley had all starred in the original Kings of Comedy, a film that changed the game for black comedians. It was supposed to be brotherhood, for men lifting each other up, shining together. But after Bernie Mac died, things got messy. Rumors started flying that Steve used Bernie's death to push himself further, stepping into that king role and claiming the spotlight all for himself. Kat said Bernie was the people's champ. Steve was the TV champ, but Bernie never sold out. That's why people loved him more. And that's when fans started re-watching old interviews, catching things they hadn't noticed before. Like that time on Oprah when Steve talked about Bernie Mac's success with a hint of jealousy. Or when he told D.L. Hawley, "Some people ain't meant to be stars like me." Those old clips hit different now because when comedians like Kat, Mark Curry, and Monique all start saying the same thing, that Steve Harvey's success came from climbing over others, you start wondering if there's more truth behind the smiles than anyone realized. Even D.L. Hawley, one of Steve's longtime friends, hasn't always seen eye to eye with him. In a recent podcast, D.L. said, "Steve knows how to survive in any room, but that don't mean everybody likes the way he do it." He was talking about Steve's ability to adapt, how he'll say one thing to the streets and another to Hollywood executives. Basically, he's the kind of man who knows how to play both sides. And that's exactly what other comedians say made him dangerous. See, the comedy world is about authenticity. Real recognizes real, but Hollywood's about survival. And Steve Harvey learned early that to survive, you got to do what it takes, even if it means breaking a few hearts along the way. One comic who used to work with Steve in the early days said he'd smile in your face, laugh with you, but the next day he'd be meeting with your agent, pitching your material. That's how you get ahead. That's how you go from club gigs to primetime TV. But it also explains why, as Steve's fame grew, his friendships in the comedy world disappeared. Now let's talk about the most public fallout, the beef between Steve Harvey and Monique. When Monique started speaking out about being blackballed in Hollywood, Steve was one of the first to publicly disagree with her. He told her, "You can't sacrifice money for integrity. This is the money game." That moment went viral and it told the world exactly how Steve thinks. For Monique, it was betrayal because she saw Steve as a friend, a fellow comic, a brother in the business. But in that moment, she realized he wasn't standing beside her. He was standing behind the system that shut her out. And that's when fans started connecting the dots again. If Steve was willing to turn on Monique on live TV, who else did he turn on behind closed doors? The craziest part, even Steve himself has admitted he's done some unforgivable things to make it. In one of his older interviews he said, "I've done things I ain't proud of, but when you hungry, you eat what's in front of you." It sounded like a metaphor at first until people realized it might have been literal, because that's how the comedians who knew him described him. Hungry, ambitious to a fault. The kind of man who wanted success so bad he didn't care who he hurt getting there. But here's the thing. The higher you climb, the more people remember what you stepped on to get there. And now, years later, that past is catching up. Clips are resurfacing. Comedians are telling stories. And fans are starting to see cracks in Steve Harvey's perfect image. 'Cause it's not just about stolen jokes anymore. It's about how fame can change a man. Remember, this is the same Steve who used to preach about faith and family, but also cheated on his wife and built his new empire on Hollywood's dime. The same Steve who talks about loyalty, but allegedly cut deals that left his own peers behind. Even some of his old radio crew members have said they felt used and replaced once he got bigger. They said Steve don't keep friends, he keeps opportunities. That's cold. But in Hollywood that might be the truth. And yet Steve keeps winning. No matter what comes out, no matter who speaks against him, he just smiles, prays, and cashes another check. He's got Family Feud ratings breaking records. He's got books selling millions. He's got motivational speeches going viral every week. It's like the hate just slides right off him. And maybe that's the secret. Steve knows the power of image. He once said, "If people believe you're blessed, they'll forget what you did to get there." And looking at where he is now, he might have been right. But here's the question. Can a man really build an empire on bad karma and still sleep at night? Because for all his fame, Steve's also one of the most criticized men in entertainment. Every year, a new scandal, a new story, a new form of friend saying that ain't the man y'all think he is. From Bernie Mac's death to Monique's fallout to Kat's jabs. His name keeps coming up whenever people talk about Hollywood snakes. And that says something. At the end of the day, maybe Steve Harvey represents the uncomfortable truth about success. That sometimes being good ain't enough. You got to be ruthless. You got to be political. You got to smile while you take what's yours and hope nobody catches you doing it. Because in this business, the funny ones don't always win. The smart ones do. Steve Harvey, he's one of the smartest players comedy ever produced. But like D.L. Hughley once said, just because you made it don't mean everybody clapping's happy for you. So maybe Steve's rise to stardom was legendary. But it came with casualties. Friendships lost, trust broken, respect shattered. And now as these comedians keep speaking out one by one, it's forcing fans to ask, did Steve Harvey build his success or did he borrow it from everyone else? Either way, the truth's out now. And while Steve's busy writing the next chapter of his empire, the people who helped build the first one are finally telling their side. Because comedy might be about timing, but karma always shows up right on schedule. So what do you think? Did Steve Harvey really climb the ladder by stealing and scheming? Or is this just jealous comedians trying to tear a brother down? Either way, one thing's for sure. The laughter might have built his name, but the silence around him is starting to tell a louder story. This is Buzz and Drama, where fame meets truth and legends meet receipts. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below because we've got more stories Hollywood doesn't want you to hear. See you on the